there comes a point in your life when you realize not every message deserves a reply, not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every person deserves access to your energy. This is the moment you become untouchable. Not cold, not arrogant, not distant, just unavailable to chaos. Because the truth is simple. The more you react, the more you are controlled. The more you explain, the more you are misunderstood. And the more you engage, the more you are drained. INFJs feel this deeply. You absorb energy. You process everything. You see what others miss. But that gift can become a burden if you don't learn one quiet skill: detachment. Today, we explore 12 calm, powerful ways INFJs can stay untouchable, not by force, but by silence, not by fighting back, but by stepping back. 1. Master the art of not reacting. Reaction is easy. It is almost mechanical, a reflex of emotion and identity. Someone criticizes you, a message feels sharp, a tone feels off, and something inside you moves instantly. INFJs feel this deeply, because you don't just hear words. You feel the intention behind them. But here is where power begins. Not in response, but in pause. Pause is a space most people never enter. They jump from feeling to reaction, from emotion to expression, and in that gap, they lose control of themselves. But you don't have to, because every reaction is a doorway into more conversation, more explanation, more emotional exposure. And not all doors need to be opened. Sometimes people provoke you, not because they want truth, but because they want energy. Your reaction is fuel to them, so you take it back. You breathe instead of respond. You observe instead of defend. You stay still instead of engaging. This is emotional discipline. This is nervous system control. You can feel everything: the anger, the frustration, the misunderstanding, but you don't translate it into action. You let it pass through you, without expression, without damage. Silence becomes structure, not emptiness. And slowly something shifts. People begin to notice. You are no longer easily pulled, no longer easily activated. And what they cannot trigger, they eventually stop trying to trigger. That is where untouchable begins. Not in aggression, but in emotional stillness. 2. Stop explaining yourself. There is a quiet exhaustion in over-explaining. INFJs know this deeply. Because you want to be understood correctly. You want your intention to be clear, your heart to be seen properly. But explanation often turns into entanglement. You say one thing, then clarify it, then defend it, then reframe it again. And suddenly, you are no longer expressing yourself. You are performing understanding. The truth is simple. Most people do not listen to understand. They listen to respond. They filter your words through their own story, not yours. So no matter how precise you are, misinterpretation still happens. And that is not your failure. It is human limitation. So you stop trying to overcorrect perception. You step back into clarity. Your clarity. You know why you made a decision. You know why you set a boundary. You know why you stayed silent. That internal knowing is stable. External agreement is not. INFJ emotional intelligence often tries to harmonize everything. But not everything can be harmonized. Some people will not understand you, no matter how carefully you explain. And that is okay. Because understanding is not your responsibility. Peace is. So you begin to shorten your explanations. Then reduce them. Then remove them entirely when needed. Until only truth remains inside you. Quiet. Clean. Undisturbed. And in that space, you are no longer negotiable. You are simply yourself. 3. Learn the power of ignoring. Ignoring is misunderstood. It is not avoidance. It is precision. It is choosing where your attention lives. And attention is life force. Every time you respond, you invest energy. Every time you engage, you extend presence. INFJs often forget this. Because empathy makes everything feel important. Every message feels meaningful. Every emotional signal feels urgent. But urgency is not always truth. Some things are just noise. So ignoring becomes clarity. not rejection. You are not denying existence. You are denying access. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every comment deserves your mind. Not every emotional pull deserves your response. When you stop reacting to everything, something powerful happens. Your inner world becomes quieter, more stable, more spacious. At first it feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because silence from you used to mean something was wrong. But now silence means something is right. You are no longer scattered, no longer emotionally overextended. And people notice. They notice the delay, the absence of immediate response, the lack of emotional availability. And slowly, they recalibrate how they approach you. Because access is no longer automatic. It must be earned by relevance, not demand. Ignoring becomes protection, but also elevation. You rise above reactive cycles, above emotional pull, above unnecessary engagement. And what remains is your own attention, focused, intentional, unclaimed. 4. Protect your energy like it matters. Because it does. Energy is not abstract. It is lived experience. It is how you feel after conversations, how you sleep after interactions, how your mind behaves in silence. INFJs absorb more than they express. You walk into rooms and feel shifts. You hear tones beneath words. You carry emotional residue without noticing. So protection becomes essential. Not dramatic protection. Quiet protection. You begin to notice what drains you. Certain people. Certain topics. Certain environments. And instead of enduring them, you begin to step back. Not with explanation, but with awareness. You reduce unnecessary exposure. You limit emotional overextension. You stop forcing yourself into heavy spaces. And guilt may appear at first. Because INFJs are wired to care, to stay, to understand, to support. But care without boundaries becomes depletion. So you learn a new rule. If something consistently drains you, you do not need a better reason to leave it. That feeling is enough. Your body knows before your mind admits it. So you listen earlier, not later. And slowly your life changes shape. Less noise. Less pressure. Less emotional friction. More space. More clarity. More calm. Protecting your energy is not withdrawal. It is maintenance of self. It is how you remain stable in an unstable world. And in that stability, you become harder to disturb. Not because nothing touches you, but because nothing overwhelms you anymore. 5. Speak less. Observe more. Words can distract. Silence reveals. When you speak less, you begin to notice more. Small shifts in tone. Hidden tension in a sentence. What is said, and what is avoided. Most people reveal themselves. Without realizing it, they speak quickly. They fill space. They expose their patterns. But you don't have to rush. INFJs already read between the lines. It's natural to you. But when you slow down your speech, your awareness sharpens even more. You don't interrupt. You don't compete for attention. You just observe. And in that quiet observation, you understand people deeply. Without asking, without forcing. There is strength in that stillness. Because when you finally speak, your words carry weight. They are precise. They are intentional. And people feel it. Not because you said more, but because you said less, with clarity. 6. Detach from the need for validation. The need to be understood can quietly control your life. You start explaining more, trying harder, adjusting yourself, just to feel seen. But validation is unstable. It changes with people, with moods, with opinions. What feels accepted today can be rejected tomorrow. INFJs seek deep connection, not surface approval, but even that desire can become a dependency. So gently, step back. Ask yourself one question. Do I understand myself? Because that is where stability begins. When you trust your own reasoning, your own values, your own intuition, external approval loses its grip. You no longer chase agreement. You no longer shape yourself to fit expectations. You simply exist. As you are. Calm. Grounded. And when validation is no longer needed, you become difficult to influence. Unshakable. Untouchable. 7. Accept being misunderstood. There is a quiet truth INFJs learn over time. You will not always be seen correctly. Not because you are unclear, but because people interpret through their own lens. Some will misunderstand your silence. They will think it means disinterest, or rejection, or distance where none exists. Some will misread your calmness. They will assume you do not care. Some will fill your absence of words with stories that were never yours. And those stories will spread quietly, without your involvement. This is part of human perception. It is imperfect. INFJs often feel a strong pull to fix this, to explain every detail, to correct every assumption, to make themselves fully understood. But this path becomes heavy quickly, because understanding is not only about clarity, it is also about readiness. People see through their own experience, their own emotional history, their own assumptions about the world. So even when you speak clearly, they may still hear something different. Even when you explain gently, they may still interpret it incorrectly. And that can feel frustrating, even painful. But there is a deeper acceptance here. You do not need everyone to understand you. You only need to remain aligned with yourself. When your intentions are clean, you do not need universal agreement. Let people hold their versions of you. Let them believe what they choose. Those versions are shaped by them, not defined by you. And over time, you begin to feel something shift. Less urgency to correct. Less need to defend. Less emotional exhaustion from being misunderstood. Because your identity is no longer outsourced. It lives within you. And in that space, silence becomes peaceful. Not defensive. Not heavy. Just free. You stop chasing perfect understanding. And you start living in quiet certainty. That is enough. 8. Set boundaries without guilt. Boundaries do not need announcements. They do not require justification. They are often quiet decisions. A slower reply. A shorter conversation. A step back from constant availability. Sometimes, simply saying less. Or being less reachable. INFJs often struggle here. Because you feel deeply responsible for emotional harmony. You want to be kind. You want to be considerate. You want to avoid discomfort in others. So when you create distance, guilt appears quickly. But there is something important to understand. Ignoring your limits does not remove the cost. It only delays it. And the cost builds quietly. Mental fatigue. Emotional overload. Inner tension that does not fully leave. Until eventually, you withdraw completely. Not calmly, but from exhaustion. So boundaries are not rejection. They are maintenance. They are preservation. They are clarity. You are not responsible for how others feel about your limits. You are responsible for honoring them. And when boundaries are set early, they remain gentle. They do not need to become dramatic. They do not need conflict. Just consistency. Calm repetition of self-respect. And something changes over time. The right people adjust naturally. They understand without pressure. They respect without demand. And those who do not reveal something important. That access to you was never truly mutual. So you step back. Without anger. Without explanation. Just clarity. And in that clarity, you find peace returning slowly. 9. Stop trying to fix everyone. There is a deep sensitivity in INFJs. You see what others could become. You see potential beneath behavior. You see pain beneath silence. You see possibility where others see limitation. And this makes you want to help, to guide, to heal, to improve what feels broken. But not everything broken wants repair. And not every person is ready for change. This is where imbalance begins. Because you start giving energy that is not requested. You start carrying emotional weight that is not yours. You start investing effort into outcomes you cannot control. And slowly, your inner world becomes tired. Not from lack of purpose, but from overextension of care. INFJs often forget something essential here. Support is not the same as responsibility. You can understand someone deeply, without becoming their solution. You can care, Without carrying. You can offer insight. Without forcing change. People grow in their own timing. Not in response to pressure. Not in response to urgency. But when they are ready within themselves. And that readiness cannot be transferred. So you begin to step back. Not in coldness. Not in detachment from care. But in wisdom. You stop trying to rescue every situation. You stop trying to fix every pattern. You stop holding what was never yours to hold. And something subtle happens then. Your energy returns. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotional space expands again. Because you are no longer scattered across everyone else's growth. You return to yourself. And from that place, you still care. But differently. More quietly. More wisely. More sustainably. And in that shift, you find something steady. Peace that does not depend on changing others. 10. Become comfortable with silence. Silence can feel unfamiliar. At first, it feels like something is missing. Like you should say something. Do something. Fill the space. But you don't have to. Silence is not empty. It is full of awareness. It gives space for thought. For clarity. For calm. INFJs process deeply. And silence supports that process. It slows everything down. You don't rush your responses. You don't react impulsively. You allow understanding to form. Naturally. And when you do speak, your words are grounded. They come from clarity. Not pressure. Not emotion. Just calm understanding. Silence becomes your foundation. And in that stillness, you remain centered. 11. Focus on your inner world. Your inner world shapes everything. Your thoughts. Your emotions. Your reactions. If your inner space is chaotic, your outer life reflects that. But if it is calm, everything feels different. INFJs have rich inner landscapes. Deep thoughts. Complex emotions. Quiet reflections. But external noise can disrupt this. Too much input. Too many opinions. Too many distractions. So return inward. Spend time alone. Reflect on your thoughts. Understand your emotions. Write things down. Sit in stillness. Reconnect with yourself. Because when your inner world is stable, external chaos loses its influence. You become grounded, steady, untouchable. 12. Walk away without drama. Not everything needs closure. Not every situation needs a final explanation. Sometimes, the healthiest choice is to leave quietly. No confrontation. No long messages. No emotional exit. Just distance. INFJs often want understanding. A clear ending. A sense of resolution. But some situations don't offer that. And staying only creates more confusion. More tension. More emotional weight. So instead, choose simplicity. You step away. Calmly. Without anger. Without resentment. Just acceptance. And in that quiet exit, you protect your peace. You preserve your energy. And you move forward. Without carrying unnecessary weight. Being untouchable is not about becoming distant from life. It is about becoming selective. With your energy. With your attention. With your responses. INFJs don't need to fight everything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. To be valid. Remember this. You don't have to react. You don't have to explain. You don't have to engage. Sometimes, your silence says everything. And in that silence, you find something rare. A quiet strength. A steady mind. A life that feels peaceful. Untouchable.